Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about why I prefer the Ricoh GR III over the Fujifilm x100VI. And yes, it's because I'm a fanboy. No, actually, so if you are into the camera market at all, you'll know that Fujifilm just released their new successor to the X100 line. That's the x100VI. And according to all the preliminary sales data, this thing's flying off the shelf 30 to 50 times faster than anything Sony or Lumix has produced this year. And I think for good reason. It looks like Fujifilm took the much beloved x100V and just made it better in ways that consumers love. So hats off to them for that. This isn't a review of the x100VI. There's about 1,000 of those online. There will be 1,000 more coming very shortly. This is to talk about, from the perspective of a Ricoh owner, why I won't be replacing my Ricoh with the Fujifilm. And maybe if you're in the market or you have one or the other and you're wondering if you'd be better off with the other one, maybe this will answer some of your questions. Now, I have owned the Ricoh for about 2 years now, but just so you know, I'm not a Ricoh fanboy. I bought it with my own money and I have no affiliation with Ricoh. Let me begin, just to prove my non-fanboyism, let me begin by telling you all the reasons why you should go out and buy the x100VI. The first thing the x100VI has that the Ricoh doesn't is a viewfinder. And oh, how I long for this on some days when the sun is bearing down on me in North Africa and I can barely see the back screen of my Ricoh. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to have an electronic viewfinder or an optical viewfinder? The x100VI has both. This one's somewhat debatable, but one thing that the x100VI does better is that it has a higher resolution sensor. Now, personally, I don't often find myself wanting more than the 24 megapixels that my Ricoh gives me, but if somebody were to offer me more, I think I would take it. And the reason for that is because obviously with a fixed lens camera, it becomes a little bit easier to crop in to images if you have more megapixels. Also, if you use the in-body or in-camera crop modes, those are a little bit more useful with more resolution. Now here's one that I know most GR3 owners long for, and that is a tilt screen. The x100VI has one, the Ricoh doesn't. Just pretty much on everyone's wish list that I know for the Ricoh GR IV is a tilt screen. It's infinitely useful. It helps in composing images, allows you to shoot from the hip and not have to shoot blind. I absolutely want one right now. I don't have one. The Fujifilm does. The x100VI also has a better IBIS unit. Now don't get me wrong, I'm super thankful to Ricoh for finding a way to put 3-axis IBIS into the Ricoh GR III. IBIS is one of those things like once you use it, you can't go back, and it really does help on the Ricoh. But the Fujifilm now has a 5-axis system that I think is undoubtedly going to be better, and that has implications for other features that we'll talk about in a second. The x100VI is also going to be a good video camera, interestingly, and that IBIS that we just talked about is going to play into that, making handheld clips more usable without having to stabilize them in post, and that's fantastic. Now, if you're purely a photographer, that's not really going to matter to you, but if you're like me, where every once in a while I like to take my camera out and capture a short video clip to go with my photos, that's a really, really useful feature. The video in the Ricoh, frankly, it's just really bad. It has 1080-60, but it looks like 720p from like 15 years ago. It can't focus on anything, and it's really bad. I never use my Ricoh. I don't know anyone who uses their Ricoh for video. The x100VI now is really a legitimate video camera. I guess when I say legitimate, I mean it can take some nice video clips. Now, I'm sure there's other things that I could add to the pros list of the x100VI, but we'll leave it right there, and I want to shift gears to talk about why, even though it has all these fantastic features that my Ricoh doesn't, why I won't be swapping my Ricoh for it. So here it is. Here's the reason. In my opinion, the biggest strength of the Ricoh GR III is that it is genuinely a pocketable camera. I've read several reviews, articles, where they say that the X100 series of cameras is a pocketable line of cameras. That's just a lie. Unless it's not a year-round pocketable camera, unless you're in the habit of wearing like large winter trench coats during the summer months. Those of you who are out there wearing cargo pants and cargo shorts, you can fight me in the comments, but I would propose to the rest of us that the Ricoh GR III is really the only high-end APS-C pocketable camera on the market today, especially that's still being supported by the manufacturer. And when I say pocketable, I mean that it reasonably fits into the front pocket of any pair of pants. I've carried my Ricoh to the grocery store, to church, to the park, on airplanes, on daily walks. I've carried it into places where cameras weren't allowed. What's great about it is when you want it to be discreet, when you want to hide it away, you can do that and no one's going to notice it. And it does all that while providing the owner with great user experience and great quality images. Now this kind of puts the Ricoh into a class of its own. I really almost hesitated to compare the Ricoh GR III with the X100VI because they are, in a lot of ways, very different cameras, although the wider industry would put them all under the compact section. The Ricoh is the pinnacle of minimalism and portability. The X100VI now is a well-rounded, feature-rich, aesthetically pleasing camera that's meant to appeal to a wider audience. So all in all, the X100VI is a fantastic camera, but it can't fit in my pocket, so it won't replace my GR3. So to sum everything up, the greatest strength of the Ricoh GR3, even in 2024, years after its release, is its size. Nothing compares to it in quality or in portability. And I imagine nothing will compare to it until the big camera companies finally return their attention to the compact camera market, which they've pretty much abandoned, and realized, hopefully off of the sales of the X100VI, that people are still interested in compact cameras. Fingers crossed on that one. A lot has been written on the X100VI, a lot will be written in the future on the X100VI. Kudos and hats off to Fujifilm for listening to their consumers and giving them exactly what they wanted. They deserve the sales and the profits off of this camera. I really hope other camera manufacturers start listening to their consumers. Wink wink OM system. I'm still waiting on my Pen F Mark II. So I wish Fujifilm all the success in the world with the X100VI. To be honest, I probably will end up picking one up at some point. But it won't be my go-to everyday camera, I imagine, because it won't fit in my pocket. Maybe when they can manage to do that, I'll replace the Ricoh. But until then, Ricoh's still king of portability. Portability is really high on my priority list, so that's what it's going to be for me. Now, for you, only you can make the call. I'm not saying the Ricoh's a better camera, certainly. They both offer different things. So hopefully this may be somewhat helpful to you in making a decision or deciding if you should switch over. Thanks for watching the video. If you are interested in some Ricoh GR3 film recipes or film simulations, got those on the website, and also done some for the Sigma FP, which is a really fun camera, really compact camera in and of itself. So go check those out if you want. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Talk to you later.